Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Is the economy recovering? Is it on that path of recovery, or signs rather of recovery as an economy? And what is it about the December elections that many governments lose it when it comes to spending? What should we be doing to ensure that we overturn or actually cross or be able to jump this height during the December elections? It's about the economic recovery. Are we on track? And what should we do to ensure that we maintain that fiscal discipline for the economy? Call him an economist, call him a businessman, call him an inspirational business person, and call him the chairman of chairmen. I haven't had the opportunity to chair a lot of businesses in the country. Dr. Ishmael Yamson is my guest on PM Express Businesses. And Doc, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you.
It's been interesting times. I mean, always you have the time to sit back and observe from your days as Unilever and now. And how would you, sitting down, look at the previous months, the half year, as we even prepare for our media? I think it might be a good time to get your thoughts on that as well. How would you describe the past 6 months for the year? I mean, putting on the business cap rather than the economist cap.
George, thank you very much. I think for me it's been just one word. It's been tumultuous. The last 6 months has been quite unsettling, quite volatile, and very difficult for business. Really, really very difficult for business. George, I can say for certainty that I've never seen anything like this, probably in the past 40 years.
That is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because they give us the indicator to show that yes, it was bad. You know, we are seeing all those. What makes you compare this to the 80s where people cannot even get a good meal to eat? No,
look, George, look at the depreciation of the city. The city depreciated an all-time high just last month, June. And I thought maybe we'll begin to see some improvement.
Yeah.
But the city continues to depreciate. And I think that for businesses, this probably is the most difficult time that Ghanaian businesses have faced. You know, you need an economy which is predictable. This is a completely unpredictable economy that we have today. And for me, the most difficult aspect is that you can't even see, either from government or from anybody, a real effort to change direction. I can't see anything that is happening today which says that the economy is improving. Look at your city, look at the rate of inflation, look at everything that you can talk about in economics about the economy. So if we're a businessman in this economy today, George, you probably would sleep with nightmares. You know, you get up every morning, you don't know what's going to hit you the next moment. And it's been quite tough, particularly for manufacturers. I know the traders scream a lot, but if we're a manufacturer that I spent 38 years in Unilever, I can tell you that it's a very difficult period because you don't know, you have no control over your costs, absolutely no control over your costs. Because all your cost factors are determined by factors outside your own control as a business. So it's, I think that if anybody asks me, what keeps me awake in the night? I'll tell you, it's the Ghanaian economy.
But Doc, some will say that looking at where we've come from, an inflation of almost 52%, I stand to be corrected, a depreciating city where you woke up every morning and every day was depreciating, our reserves that went as low as just 1 month of cover or even some whisk cover, it was terrible then. Aren't we seeing that recovery or that correction taking place that should bring some relief to these businesses that you engage them every day?
You know, we say statistics tell a different story from reality, right? I've heard many times and from the Ghana Statistical Authority, from the central bank, from all predicting, not predicting, but actually claiming that inflation is coming down and the economy is turning around, turning the corner. But George, what is the reality really? If you go to the market tomorrow, or even today, I just sent my houseboy to go and buy me coconut. And they said, it's now 5 cedis, 50 pesos. 5 cedis, 50 pesos. Just a week or two ago, I bought coconut for 550 pesos. So really, when people say inflation is going down, what are they talking about? As for the data, the figure...
The rate of English is slowing down, yeah, and that's what they are saying.
That is what the figures tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Or how does the ordinary politicians like talking about the ordinary people a lot.
Ordinary Ghanaian.
Ordinary Ghanaian.
Yeah.
So if I look at myself, what do I live on? Plantain, cassava, contomere, those basic things. Tomatoes, onions. Would any housewife today tell you that the price of these items are going down? No, really no. So yes, the statistics tell us one story. The reality tells us a different story. And I think that unless we begin to think about the people and how they feel, we can gratify ourselves about
the numbers,
you know, the economy's performance and getting better and the rest of it. But quite frankly, I get worried every day. I get very worried every day. Now, just this morning I was reading and the paper, and the cocoa prices have begun to come down very drastically.
Yeah, 7,000.
From 10,000 now 7,000 something.
Yeah.
Now, last year, our cocoa production fell by 50%.
Yeah.
If anybody in this economy or in any government is not worried about what is happening to cocoa, then George, we better start thinking, right? Not only that have you lost, but your FDI dropped by 50% in the same period. So the Ghana government doesn't have the money, because the only forex that we get today are from cocoa, from minerals or something. When the prices were going down, if we had kept the production level at where they were, we would be laughing. But we lost the advantage of the price rise. And now that the prices have begun to come down, where would we be? And meanwhile, the doors to the euro market hasn't opened yet.
Yeah.
So the only access to government today, that's why, and I'm sure you know about it, that every week they have to go and borrow money.
T-bills, yeah.
T-bills, short term.
Yeah.
And we knew from the days I was a student in economics to today that you don't borrow short term and to go and build a road. You don't. So why are you getting the money for it? Then you turn around and tell me, oh, but by the way, the economy is doing better. With what money? So you are borrowing money short term
to meet with current expenditure, salaries, and all those things.
I'll tell you, there was, I won't tell you the name of the government institution, but he told me, our salaries have begun to delay. Our salary payments have begun to delay.
When was that? The last 2 months ago,
yes.
3 months ago.
And those are signals that we had in the 70s, in the 80s. And I keep saying to myself, if what I thought 20 years ago was never going to happen again, and I'm beginning to hear the same things today, then I get worried.
But Doc, I mean, you were one of the people who pushed us to explore the IMF, and I'll come back, and we've gone for a fun program. And I read the last board statement that quoted that they are seeing signs of stability, and how we've done. Again, the conundrum of trying to look at the numbers, the reality of the ground. The fund itself, after their very frank verdicts a year ago, are now changing their words, saying that we are seeing signs of stability. We are seeing some commitment on the part of Bank of Ghana to do those corrections and all the rest. Shouldn't that bring some relief to us that at least there are some independent actors who can see the light at the end of the tunnel? Or what, Doc?
George, I've had experience with the fund for many, many years. Unfortunately, I don't trust them that much.
On their verdict on the economy? Because the data again shows that anytime we're on the fund program, the numbers look very good on the economy.
The same fund people in 2019, when they knew that Ghanaian economy was almost collapsing, and you can read it in the April Article 4 consultation. It's there. They are black and white. So what did they tell the government at the time? Until the Euro bond market was shut down, before these same fund people then stood up and say the Ghanaian economy needs rescue. But they had known in April, long before. You know, I have told you that for me, all these talk about turnaround is fine. But go and ask any businessman today, why are we screaming about prices generally rising? The economy is coming down, and I agree that maybe the rate of price changes is slowing. But is it changing fast enough for you and I to begin to feel? And how long is that going to take place? How long should we wait to see real rapid appreciation of the city? The city is not appreciating in any way whatsoever. And this economy in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa is the one economy that depends most on food imports. And the food import that you import, the prices are determined by the exchange rate, right? If you go to the port, even the customs people, what do? They take the exchange rate of the day to determine the duties and taxes you pay. So indeed, even our own government doesn't have confidence in its own currency. It has to wait on a day-to-day basis before they calculate it. And if your currency is not stabilizing and you turn around and tell me that economy is improving, my question is, I can't see. I mean, that's what your figures say. How I see it is different. And I can tell you that I can tell you that I'm still very worried. Every time the fund releases $300 million a tranche, there is huge celebration. And I get very ashamed. 300 million release, and we celebrate?
Because the argument that it brings some level of confidence for the other donors to also trigger.
So the other donors, how much have they brought?
World Bank is supposed to come on board, the AFDB is supposed to come on board.
Let them put it all together and tell us. Because that also will give us confidence, right? That this institution is bringing this, and since the fund released the 200 million or right. But you see, how much private transfers to Ghana do we have a year? The last figure I saw was about 4 billion a year, right? So which one is more important, the fund 300 million or the Ghanaians sitting outside having confidence in this economy and transferring money? Or maybe even deciding to come and set up a business here. So I think most of the time our priorities and our aspects are wrong.
Doc, let me come to the bit about the city that, I mean, you've been in the manufacturing industry and all the rest. I mean, a lot of things were said about the fact that if we reach an agreement with the bilateral creditors, that will deal with the confidence issue, the city will stabilize. We said that if we close a deal with the, what do you call it, the commercial, that is the Eurobond holders who will see some stability. All these things have taken place. We haven't seen that rapid response of the city.
No.
What do you make of these developments? And the governor says that, well, now we're seeing some slow in the rate of depreciation and all the rest. For you, why? And some are now saying that now, unless you're able to sign the deal agreement, the Eurobond holders, that is when we will see that response from the city and private capital coming in. For you, the short-term proposals or prognosis. First, why do you think the city is not responding?
Yes.
I mean, you engage the businesses, you engage the offshore funds. What are they telling you?
Yeah, George, even if the private bondholders were to sign a piece of paper today,
debt restructuring,
that will not change their perception of Ghana today. It will not. Because you see, Lee Kuan Yew say something very interesting. I said, why are most African countries and the third world countries broke and poor? He said they lack one thing: self-discipline. Self-discipline. Are you telling me that our government and all these people have changed the way they behave, the way they manage this economy? No. So why should anybody have confidence that because somebody has put a pen to a paper, that is enough for me to have confidence? Why have we been to the fund for 17 times? And who says we won't go for the 18th time? If we don't change our behaviors, our attitudes, our own perception of government and of governance, what should we have demonstrated today? I'm a businessman. If I take a business which is bleeding today, the first thing I'll do is to look at my cost of operation. This government doesn't care about the cost of operation. They haven't done anything to show that they are determined to bring the cost of governing this country down. And that has been at the root of all our problems. And yet you say, but have confidence. How can I have confidence when you are doing the same thing and expecting different results? You can't. You cannot. I believe that if we want to be true to ourselves, then we should say, look, listen, how many are we? 30 million people?
30-something.
31 something. Eh? What's the size of our cabinet? What's the size of the U.S. cabinet? What's the size of our Supreme Court? And what's the size of the U.S. Supreme Court? So why don't we just get real and see that, look, guys, we can't continue like this and expect different results. We need to slim our government. But we are not prepared even to talk about it. No.
It's a no-go area.
No, it's a no-go area.
There's a lot of work to be done.
I remember when I spoke at the New Year School, 2020, it was whatever. Somebody told me, but you are telling us that the president should not appoint everybody. So how do we compensate our people who campaign for us? So you see, what that means is that that person's interest is nowhere about Ghana. It's about himself and his party.
Let's look at the Ghana city, and I'm asking for you, what can be done immediately? Because it appears that the confidence is a big issue. Can anything be done in the immediate term to slow the rate of because all these indicators of what we were told by the market analysts and all the rest that, George, wait for these things to happen, the city will respond. We are yet to see that immediate response, even though the governor at the SME Growth Summit says that as far as he's concerned, the currency has now started responding to some of these market development. For that businessman at the Bosokan who always bring in stuff, he wants a self-government now and a self-government future.
Exactly.
How do you think, what can be done now?
Sometimes signals are important, right? Why are we where we are? Because we lived beyond our means and we resorted to borrowing and borrowing excessively, right? Now, why is the signal that we are going to get closer to a balanced budget?
Which I've never seen. I mean, you are old. I mean, I stand to educate.
We budget every year for deficits. And not that we budget for declining deficit, but we budget every year for growing deficit. So you are living every year beyond your means. And you tell me, but have confidence in my currency. No. You know it's not practicable.
So the signaling effect is very, very important to deal with the confidence issue.
It's very important. The government must demonstrate that it is taking practical, visible, verifiable means to cut expenditure. Because if you cut expenditure, then that means that it leaves you room. So the amount of money you need to borrow gets smaller and smaller and smaller to get to a point where you don't need to borrow again. Let me give you, look, at the same time as Ghana went epic, South Korea also was giving the same amount of money we were giving. South Korea determined that they would, by 10, 15 years, they will not depend on ODA. They won't borrow. South Korea now gives out,
handouts of borrow
but
funds.
today, we are in fact borrowing more and more and more and more. And that anytime we can't borrow, we are exposed. And I'm saying that, why is it that we haven't learned lessons from our own history? Not somebody's history, our own history. Go back before ERP, before 1984, right? Why did
Fist up one, fist up two, and all the rest?
Why? It was always the same story, repeatedly, the same story. And we never learned.
So you think that the signaling effect is very important?
It is critical.
Cutting down would again fuel that confidence,
Yes.
and it immediately brings some relief to local currency.
Yes, I can
if you
tell
don't
you.
do that, it might be a big challenge for us.
No, to be challenging. Because nobody is going to trust just the rhetoric. And I can tell you, this is nothing but rhetoric.
This is PM Express Business Edition, engaging Dr. Ishmael Yamson. He's an economist, getting his thoughts about Ghana's economic recovery. Are we really on track? And how do we ensure that the numbers, when they are showing good, its impact on that normal person down there? We'll take a short break and we will be right back. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition, engaging economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson, getting his thoughts on the Ghana's economic recovery. What can be done to improve the business environment? And is the outlook that favorable? And what is it about that election year that sometimes we spend so much that we forget about tomorrow, and it drags us into a huge deficit and we struggle to correct that? Engaging Dr. Ishmael Yamson on his thoughts on all these things. Doc, I mean, how do we, again, convince our Germans who are selling at Accra Central about making sure that the macro numbers improving impact on her business? Because for somebody like her, she may not care about an import cover hitting 4 months or 5 months. If still, she's spending more money to bring in that same goods of toffees, that same pair of shoes to sell at the market. There are some who have even talked about happiness index. Let's move away from our traditional thing they taught us in the economic class, and then look at how does the economic situation improving impact on people being happy down there.
No, George, I mean, Ghanaians, today our happiness in the indices probably are very basic. Just the things you and I get up every morning. We don't need to worry about food, about shelter, but those are the things that a Ghanaian requires. Ghanaian is not looking for holidays and things like that,
Bahamas,
right?
Or something. Yeah.
No. So at least just make sure that we are on the track of providing those very basic things to the Ghanaian. If you look at the Abosoakai lady, why is it that she has to look up to China every day to go and buy goods to come and sell, or any of their marketplaces? And I'm challenging you, go to any supermarket in Ghana and look at the range of products there. You will find that no more than 20% is produced in Ghana. Everything else is produced outside. What have we done, or what are we doing? And I never hear this, to encourage manufacturing on our own, in our own country. Because if we are happy to become an import-dependent country, we will always be short of foreign exchange, always.
And that is contributing to what we are
That
facing
contributes
right
to
now.
this. So that's what I'm saying, that even if you look at the budget statement, and I said this, I don't know when, but at one of the conversations with you, that even in Nkrumah's days, when Nkrumah was supposed to be a socialist, If you read all his budget statements, there was a big role from the private sector in manufacturing. Clearly defined. And industry by industry. What do we find today? Government wants to do everything. Governments in Ghana want to do everything. They want to borrow money to build 2 meters of road. Right? So there's no room for the private sector. And yet, why do you rather prefer to use free money to build your infrastructure, right? And get benefit from it? Why do you want to saddle yourself with debt to do the things that the private sector can do better than government? So we need to have very hard thinking in this country. The space for private sector is very narrow. And even those who are in this market, our governments never treat them properly. Never.
But what has happened to private sector? I mean, because some are saying that it appears that you are losing your voice at the bigger table.
Oh, sure.
In terms of influencing policies.
Yes.
Today, the private sector appears to be rather at war with government.
Yeah.
What has happened? I mean, knowing where you've come from, why is private sector losing their voice at the table of policy change in this country?
I think that, for me, the private sector itself has to accept part of the blame.
That did that.
Oh, yeah, because now I remember in our days, we had the AGI, the chamber, we had the exporters, we had the bankers, really powerful organizations, completely independent of government. We had the private sector, public sector dialogue, where we met government regularly. Today, all the associations are politicized, like everything else in Ghana. So they have lost their independent voice. They have lost it. And I'm saying that the government is the beneficiary of that.
Breaking the front.
Of course. So I'm saying that even the government itself, it should not be happy to have a weak private sector. No. Why? I can tell you, when I heard that the government was going to borrow money to build the motorway, I nearly collapsed.
Why?
Because you can easily commercialize it.
Okay.
You can easily do a build, operate, and return with the motorway with any specification you want.
That should be the approach.
Yes. We should define clearly what we can do as government and what we should leave the private sector to do. But don't tell me that you read the budget statement for governments in this country and they are doing everything. With whose money? With borrowed money. And what's your capacity to service the loan? You don't even have it.
Ghanaians will pay, right?
Ghanaians will pay. And so we go in circles every time and never go up. And I'm saying that there are fundamental conversations we should have in this country about what government should do. What should government do in this country? Look, I know there are people who think that government must, own
big expender,
the biggest spender. And I say,
influence all these things.
We have gone through this before. If you read that this is one budget statement by J.H. Mensah during Nkrumah style, he said, we build these state-owned enterprises so they can deliver value for reinvestment. But they have all turned out to be loss-making. Tell me, which state enterprise makes money today? And why are we calling them national asset? National asset that destroys value, then get it right. But you can only get it right if you are prepared to put the right people in those organizations. But who is there? Party people. No, so we need to have a proper conversation. And without those conversations, and without Ghanaians being prepared to say enough is enough, we are going to stop doing A, B, C, D, E. We ain't going anywhere.
You've spoken about national asset, and I just want to get your thought on these very controversial issues that has come up. Again, the bit about SNET itself, and then trying to, because you make an argument about whether certain things should still be owned by the state or bring private sector on board. What are your thoughts about SNET's plan generally to diversify some of its interest in some of the assets that they have? Key of them is the hotel, and they're even doing others as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me tell you, George, there's nothing wrong with a business entity having off businesses that are loss-making. But you only come to that decision when you then realize introspectively that you have done everything that you need to do, but that business is not responding. Maybe because you don't have the capability or the capacity or the skill to turn it around. Then you should give it to other companies that can do better with it. But if you are managing Labadi Beach profitably, and the Labadi Beach is next door to La Palm, where in the world does a hotel located at a beachfront ever make a loss? Only in Ghana. Only in Ghana. And why are they making loss? Have you been there recently, La Palm?
No.
Yeah, go and visit the place. You would like to be there. Because SNET itself has failed to invest in that property.
Couldn't they have invested over the years? I mean, the required money and all the rest.
Yeah,
so
the required money.
It's not that they failed to provide the liquidity that they need.
Investment is not just throwing money, right? If I decide that I'm going to renovate La Palm, as Labadi has done repeatedly, you have to define what you want, and you have to make sure that you get what you want. And your business plan might probably say to you that if I do A, B, and C, I can attract so many, residents and so many people who have visited my restaurant and blah, blah. So you do all the financial before you go and put money in there. And when you put money in there, make sure that the contractor who does the job is the right contractor. Don't go and give the job to some party contractor who knows you will take the money and do a shoddy work and then tell me, I put money there. If you put money there and you didn't get the right quality of investment in water, what did you do? What did you do? So I don't buy this argument of we have put money in there and they are not resolving. I have run businesses before. At one stage, I ran 26 businesses. 26. All the loss-making ones, we knew that we couldn't manage them. Why? These were companies that could do well only in controlled economy. But when the economy was liberalized, take Kingsway stores, if you are old enough to remember Kingsway stores. Inside Kingsway stores was a tin of milk selling 15% more than the girl with the tray on her head outside the same Kingsway store.
In front, actually.
So why should I do that business? So we said we're out. That is a genuine way of getting business. Or you say, look, I'm getting rid of this business in order to build this business of mine where I have capabilities. And I'm telling you, I sold 375 Unilever properties in this country. What was the reason? Get out of properties, build the Unilever factory in Tema. So we knew why we were getting rid of the properties and why we were what we were going to do with the money we get. We built a beautiful modern factory in Tema. So you don't just get up and say, I'm going to divest simply because you want to give the hotels to somebody and the argument that I made politically
expose people.
Yeah, expose people. And how did you come around that? And there's somebody that said, oh, but I bid so 200 something. And then they said, but your bid was not even open. So some bids were not open.
Some were open.
Oh.
But do you think that a management contract is also the way to go? Because unless the numbers are not true, you look at the other hotels and they were all making losses.
George,
this is serious.
George, I've been to Busia Beach many times. Every time I visit Busia Beach, I feel like weeping. Because that beach, in the hands of a good hotel management chain, will make millions out of it.
Yeah.
So what happened to you thought of that? Why? Or what happened to you being thought of say, okay, let's get a special, create a special purpose vehicle. You know, with the skills, with the management, with the financing to run all these hotels. Why do we say that we have all these prime hotels, but the only reason why we are saying is that they are making losses? What have been the reasons why they have been making losses? Why?
So a management contract could do.
We could do.
Turn
Oh yes.
things around.
Look, we had Ghana Airways. Why did Ghana Airways collapse? Literally all the government people were flying Ghana Airways and not paying for it. And then the company collapsed. Right? So what I'm saying is that the idea itself is not wrong. But we need to interrogate the reason behind it. And I'm not convinced about the reason behind having off and giving it to somebody that you also know. That's what even surprises me, that he hasn't got that capacity. What is the demonstration of the Rock City Hotel in doing managing these companies better, these hotels better? What is it? Why is the evidence? So my point is that Smith themselves probably should have looked at, like the option you are taking, management contract. Give it to a management contract, set the parameters, you deliver this for me, or else you are out.
Do you think that, I mean, again, putting on your business cap as well, do you think that SNIT as an entity needs to, again, the reforms that was done just for the pensions, we need to look at the whole institution for another form of restructuring again, their investment outlook and where they invest? Because if you look, even though 95% of their investment, according to their financials, are doing well, there's the 5% that is not doing well. That even influences their whole investment policy as a state pension trust.
George, I think that SNIT needs significant, the whole framework needs significant review. We ran, just 2 weeks ago, we ran a simple, when all these things were going on, a simple survey. You know, we asked very basic questions. That SNIT needs significant review. I can tell you that almost 80% of the people said yes.
But that's the public view, the reality of the businessman and having the business acumen.
I think that SNIT today is over-influenced by government, right? Government has a majority on the board, if I'm not wrong, because I remember my days at the Chamber of Commerce, right? Government underwrites SNIT. And I have seen situations where SNIT has been ordered to go invest in rural housing, which definitely everybody knew would bring no return whatsoever, but only driven by politics. So I'm saying, how do we manage a fund like this without political influence?
It needs to be cut off.
It needs to be cut off.
Be insulated
because
from these things.
If you begin to influence your commercial decision by politics, you can never make informed judgment that is the best interest of those who own it. And those who own you and I. Your fund is there. It's with SNIT. So if somebody is going to do politics, and every year, every 8 years or whatever, the CEO is a party member. True?
Well, I can't establish that. But you think that...
but it's appointed by
the president,
Yes, so it's a person appointed by government to go and run this. Can that person do anything against what the government?
So it has to be insulated.
Yes, so there are elements in the SNIT framework that needs to be reviewed. I feel very strongly about this. I mean, recently when there was this report that said, I think 10 years or so may not be, but they came back and said it's not true. That's fine. In Ghana, in my lifetime, I've heard many when governments have said it's not true.
But it came to
even
pass.
When they know that.
Debt restructuring.
But the most recent one is going to IMF. We won't go.
Debt restructuring as well.
Yes, and yet we went.
Doc, let's come back to the business space and then the manufacturing sector and what is happening. I mean, the Fiscal Service data shows the industry is picking up, but even zoom down to cement and the plan to actually control prices. Some have said that it is suicidal. I'm not saying that there is no free market where the government hand doesn't come in to change the market dynamics and correction. I'm not saying there is nothing wrong with that. What is your thought on this whole thing about trying to control or trying to influence prices, or more of, let's say, now they are saying this price disclosure rather. It's cement today, tomorrow will be iron rods. That whole policy of trying to ensure full disclosure of what manufacturers are producing, good, bad, or ugly.
But George, it's a very sad development, to be honest with you. This country was under price control for 24 years. 24 years, 1961 to 1985. What did he do? Didn't change anything in this country. Indeed, it made matters worse, right? They say it's not about price control.
Price disclosure.
So, no, but if you look at the lie, it says regulate. So what's the difference between regulating and controlling? No difference. Take the dictionary. It's the same thing. In any case, when they say price disclosure, what element in the pricing don't they know?
They didn't know what goes into it. Nobody knows. Let us know what you goes into your pricing. That's what they say the action for.
About 78 or so percent of the total product is cement, gypsum, which are all imported. Now, if the whole Ministry of Trade is telling Ghanaians that they don't know the price of
what goes into the price
of clinker and gypsum, then let's go and shut them down.
They said they asked for
customs.
They don't get it from these companies.
Customs, when the cement, clinker is all imported every day. You may probably discharge a whole shipload once every 3 months or so. Customs are there. They have the import document. They know the price at which the clinker was imported. Ministry of Trade can get that information every moment they want. They don't need the manufacturer to give them that
public
information.
Needs to know. That's what they're saying.
Yes,
so publish it for
it's
public
public
to know.
information. There's no secret about it. It's a lie. Let them come and challenge me that they can't find the price of clinker. That is important to Ghana. In any case, you can go out to your Google and find out the price per ton of clinker. You can. What is the secret? I've heard some of them say some cabal. And the cabal is doing what? Fixing prices. Go to the market and find whether all the cement are selling at the same price. Look, George, this is not the first time a government is behaving like this. No. In Kufuor's time, they matched them there. They said they were the same reason. You are manipulating cement prices. I always say to them, what drives cement prices? The predominant thing that drives cement price is the exchange rate. You fix the exchange rate, and the cement price will respond to that. Is Bank of Ghana prepared to give cement manufacturers a fixed rate for 6 months or 1 year? They will say no. So, you ask me to come to your country to invest. This is a free market economy. Now they are changing the
Are you worried by that because again the signaling effect of this on FGI?
I'm just talking about signaling effect. You see, you are changing the rules of the game midway. So now you tell me, oh, I will regulate. So regulating doesn't mean controlling. I said, what's the difference? He said, oh, now it's disclosure. Disclosure of what? What do you want? Definitely, the only thing that you may not know is the conversion process. How do I convert clinker and gypsum and all these things into cement? That's why we differ factory by factory, depending on the efficiencies and the technology. So if you want to know, go and put somebody there who has got the technical capacity to go to every one of those 14 factories to determine how much their conversion cost. But everything else you know their labor cost. Because you can get GRA to give you their payroll because they pay. I'm telling you, every information they need, if they want, they can get.
This is I think it's a bad policy.
So
the airline before Parliament,
terrible,
there are few days for it to become law. Should it be withdrawn?
I can tell you that for me, if anything bad happened to this country, it is this ally.
Because of the signal effect?
Yes.
That they will force them to go their investment.
Why should that
Somebody who's invested looking at 10-year, 20-year will just get out because of this.
And I'm not going to talk about other companies, but there are other companies that have suffered the same way. And I'm telling you that they probably would think that, oh, this is, and then I heard one of them say, oh, it's about the ordinary Ghanaian. Everything's about the ordinary Ghanaian. Eh? So when you have controlled the price of cement, will you control the price of iron rods?
Blocks as well.
Blocks. You control the price of
Cables.
nails. And would you control the price of the final product, which is the houses? I saw the real estate association president also say, oh, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Then let the government also fix prices for your houses that you build.
But Doc, in economies that appear to be doing, when I stand to be educated on this in this comparison, that the most controlled economy, quote, China. But look at what is happening in China.
What about, yes.
But what about Ghana? So some would say that in these so-called, and I stand to educate a Doc, that there is the highest level of governmental control in the economy.
Yes.
So if the same is done for Ghana in terms of cement, why are we crying?
But you see, in China, the governments control because the governments put a lot of money behind these businesses. Big time. What's America and Europe complaining? That most of the companies that are competing against them are funded by the Chinese government. Does Ghana government fund any private sector company?
No.
So why do you want to control them? Why? You asked me to come and invest my money, but you didn't tell me before I came that, in any case, hang on, when you come and you are profitable, we will control your prices. We are not think twice before I come. So you ask me to come. And then when I come, you say, and let me tell you, George, maybe you don't know, but the capacity utilization of cement manufacturers in Ghana between 2023 and this year has dropped from 48%, capacity utilization has dropped from 48% in 2023 to 38% in 2024, this year, as I sit here. You can check. So you think they themselves are happy to build their factory and use only 38% of their capacity and lose money? Who would, in his right sense, would do that? So instead of looking for why cement prices are going up, we find somebody to blame, and it happens in Ghana every time. Every time Ghanaian government wants somebody to blame. 2 years, 3 years ago, was cement price at this level?
No.
So if you have driven the exchange rate from 6 cities in 2016
or 2015.
2020,
yeah.
right? 2020, no, 2020, yeah, 2020, from 6 cities to 15.5 this morning, you are telling me that the cement price must still stay at the price when the cedi, the dollar that I was using to import the clinker to Ghana is now more than double, from 6 to 12 to 15, 2.5% evaluation.
Doc, when we come back, I'll look at the media budget, I'll look at the election spending and the outlook. Because this is PM Express Business Edition, engaging economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson. Let's look at Ghana's economic recovery. Are we on track? What can we do to ensure that indeed we get it right going forward? And also the business environment. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we talk about the economy with the chairman of chairmen, having chaired a lot of businesses in this country than we can even put account to. Dr. Ishmael Yamson is my guest on PM Express Business Edition. I mean, Doc, before I get just into the proper the economy, I mean, you even though you've been there, you are out, you are in a space where you engage a lot of investors, hedge fund managers, manufacturing firms, and all the rest. What is their biggest concern now?
I think their biggest concern is uncertainty and unpredictability. There's I mean, if you are operating in this country, your biggest problem is that there's no certainty and there's no predictability of anything in this country. We are going into elections. If you speak to any businessman, you know, but we know what's going to happen. They will destroy the economy, and then we are the ones who are going to suffer as business people. And we haven't learned the lesson. The only Minister of Finance who stood firm was Yawasa Fumafu. In this term was the only time that in an election year the government didn't overspend, because he stood absolutely firm. Now, we are already in a dire situation, very dire. But you can see, there's a dual carriageway being built from Kaswa to Winneba. And you say, and this is about 3, 4, 5 months ago, 9 months, we're going to build a dual carriageway, and where is the money coming from? So I think that we need to do less politics with our country. We have done too much politics with Ghana. We haven't cared about the country. We haven't cared about these people. We just overrun the budget, and we leave it for whoever wants to come and take over the country can come and take it over. But I don't think that that's the way to build the country. And I say this because when you look at all the countries that have made the turnaround. I just came from Rwanda. I was ashamed to see that me, a Ghanaian,
why?
I come from this country with filth and squalor and poverty, and a country that only recently was war-torn. Many people were killed. And I went to the museum. Look at it, beautiful. You can't see a speck on the street. Order, discipline. So, George, for me, until our leaders change their perception, their reason why they want to come into government, and decide for once that we will go into government for the country and its people and not for ourselves, I can't see an end to this.
Does the IMF program, again, give you any comfort because of the fact that they are trying to put their restrictions on government to ensure that? Because if you, again, and Doc, I stand to be quite educated, I mean, I'm a very young person.
Oh, yeah.
The election cycle has been our biggest pain. And some say what we are going through now,
yes,
2020,
yes,
is the aftershocks of it.
Sure, absolutely.
Convinced that at least with the fund program, we can see some insurance there that at least we were already bruised. The next thing you want is treatment than the sore expanding as a cancer.
Absolutely, George. But you see, that is not the signal I am seeing. And why? They always will give you excuses and say, well, we do this because the fund says we should do it. But the fund can say one thing, but I can do another thing. Unfortunately, the fund has now predicated their release of funds on the government getting an agreement with
the Eurobond,
the Eurobond,
creditors,
not on the government behaving differently from what took us into the fund. Look, we've been to the fund how many times? 17 times.
You're talking about we'll go 18 times?
Exactly.
That's your prediction?
And my prediction is that we will not go for the 18th time only if we change our behavior and our attitudes and our view of government. If we go into government, and I want to hear all the aspirants today swear to Ghanaians that when I go into government, I'm only going to serve Ghana and not my party. I'm going to serve Ghana.
That is quite difficult.
Yes.
Doc, you know that for a fact. There are the financiers element as well. There are the party that will always, and for all the political parties, nobody is immune.
Yeah. But that is our dilemma going forward. The CCDD report was very clear. It was launched at UPS, right? Who are electing people into parliament. They are the people who provide the money.
Yeah.
Those people who fund you are the ones who are going to put you into government. And when you go there, you do what they want you to do. And therefore, for me, the very cost of elections is compromising the future of Ghana. But do we know where those monies are coming from? Those with big monies. I heard recently, to become president, you need about $100 million or so for your campaign. Why are they going to find $100 million? And when they have found $100 million, will they not pay back? And are they going to pay back doing the right thing? They will pay back doing the wrong things. So for me, George, IMF or no IMF, my worry is the Ghanaians' behavior in government. If we don't make that transformation, having people in government like the Lee Kuan Yews of this world and Lee Kim-pings of South Korea and all these places, or Rwanda, people who devote their life, like our old Kwame Nkrumah, right? When he was in power, they said a lot of things about when he died, the man didn't even have a chicken coop, right? So which Ghanaian government, president will come after our current president?
I think that the person is better than Dr.
Precisely. Who is going to sacrifice himself?
I've seen several electoral cycles in this country, and some will say how far we've come from 1992. I engaged a major multinational with huge FDIs in this country. Said, George, we've put this project on hold.
Yes.
I don't mention the name.
Yeah, exactly.
They are waiting for the election before. Yeah. That uncertainty. Some are saying that our private business is holding us to the neck or what? Because we've gone through a lot of electoral cycles, and even within the sub-region.
That is why
the inflows are being held, and some are even doing the connection between the FX inflows to the CD and the elections as well.
Yes, yes.
Why are these multinationals doing that?
But why should a multinational bring his money when they can't see the future?
It's just some will say it's virtually a two-party state, and we know that for a fact that it's going here. We know the policies of the NDC. We know the policies of the MPP.
Yeah. But we also know the people in the NDC. We know the people in the NPP.
So there's no ambiguity about this, Doc.
No. So, we know them in what respect? Do we know them?
What they would do to this economy?
Exactly. What I'm talking about is that let those who want and they talk about power. That's how they describe it. When we get power, when they get the power, what are they going to do with that power? Are they going to serve the country and do what is right? Or they are going to get power for their own pockets and their own cronies? So that's why I said to you, the signal effect is important. Let them give us clear signals of what they are going to do, right?
And that justified the hold-up in projects and ideas that are coming in?
Because you see, George, two things. First of all, they know the multinationals who are here, how they are being treated today. They know it. And I can tell you the investment community is very small. News spread very fast. And that's the problem that our politicians don't learn. Because when you do it to one company, you think you have done it to one company, you lie. All the investors are watching you. That's the first one. Let us make sure that those who are here already are treated properly. Second point is that let us then give them assurance that what we did that brought Ghana to its knees is now a history, that we will never do that again, right? That we will not go and steal state assets. We will not go and borrow money. We will not overspend so that we are pushed into borrowing. Those are the signals that multinationals want to hear. Who is giving those signals today? And who can say that he will actually fight and eliminate corruption? Who?
Isn't it about the sanctity of contract that sends panics down their spines? Because then that multinational is afraid that if this plan of development is approved and I'm going ahead, would the new government itself respect it? I mean, there has been a political party leader who has said that he will renegotiate IMF deal. even to go and negotiate. So these are the sanctity of contract and agreement and the judgment debt.
But you see, also, I understand, but we also have to understand that why should a government that has only 6 months to go run into going to sign long-term contract and leave it for the next government? What is the rush? Where is the rush? What's the need for it? You've been in government for how many years? And we see this not only with this government about government, because they want to compromise the next government. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying that we have to change our mindset of governance. We need to change our mindset about what we will do when we are in government. We have become corrupt, selfish people. That's what we have become. I have so many clips. Ghanaian politicians speaking, you'll be shocked. So I'm saying there's no government anywhere that has all the money to develop their country. They need private capital. They need it. But you can only attract private capital when you are disciplined, you have self-discipline, right? That you are honest, that you will deal with them transparently, that you don't change the rules of the game midway. Why should I come? Why? Only for you to come. And then in Ghana, you know something, every time a company becomes successful, it's a thief. Stealing our money. Even our parliamentarians, they said, oh, they make all the money, they take it away. When they were bringing the money, that was not bad. But when they are taking their dividend, that is bad. You only pay dividend when you are successful.
Media budget review. I mean, next Tuesday, what can be done? First, let me get your expectations and what can be done to help deal with the signaling effect and the confidence with which is being right.
The only thing I want to hear from the media budget review is cut expenses.
The reality on the ground is that an election year, even ongoing Agenda 111, they want to do something to show the electorate that we've also done something.
Yes. But that is what will demonstrate that you are actually serious about yourself and about your country, right? That one, you are doing it to serve your own selfish interests. But if you really mean to serve the people of Ghana, then you have to do the most difficult things that will benefit them long term.
The reality in an election year, cutting expenditure.
But if you won't cut, don't add to it. If you won't cut, then stay where you are. But don't go and add to it. George, you see, I see in America, you cannot use any state vehicle for your political campaign. In Britain, everywhere. When they are going on campaign, do you know how many vehicles go? They are all being fueled by the people of Ghana. But they are not going to speak for all the people of Ghana. They are going to speak for themselves and their party. I am saying, George, if I want to, there's one thing I want to see in the media budget is self-discipline and self-control. Let them demonstrate that they are going to do things differently. Why should we, every week, borrow before we can pay government expenses?
Are you worried about this short-term borrowing?
I am very worried.
The impact on the economy?
I don't want to give any prediction, but I'm very worried. That's what I'll tell you. And look at the rate at which they are borrowing. 90 days, 91 day T-bill. Look at the rate. We couldn't pay 5%, 6%, 7%, 10%. We are borrowing at 25%. And we think we can pay that? God save Ghana.
Indeed, God save. And I know the debate will still go on in your homes and your offices about how do we keep on track, ensure the fiscal discipline, and getting the thoughts of Dr. Ishmael Yamson. And Doc, but finally, before I let you, what advice do you have for those young entrepreneurs who are coming up, those young business executives that are coming up, that are indeed facing some hurdles, and how to stay alive in this environment?
I think for the young people,
the very young ones,
the very, very young one like you, my advice is don't give up. don't give up, but don't learn the bad habits from those of us who are ahead of you. Because we have done great disservice to our country. You are the one who are suffering today. So you should know that if you come to do the same thing, we have no country. So they shouldn't give up. They must be hopeful. But in the context that they will repeat the habits and the mistakes we made.
Indeed, don't appreciate or actually do the wrong things that they did. That's some advice for the business executives out there, the very young ones who want to reach the heights of Dr. Ishmael Yamson, the chairman of chairmen and sharing all those institutions. This has been PM Express Business Edition. Have a great day.